This is FYI on Your TV, brought to you by Hometown News. I'm Kathy Botham. I have got Erin Lee back with us. You're the Executive Director of Lanark County Interval House. Welcome back. And Brianna Lukasevich, did I say that right?
Close enough, Kathy.
All right. You are the Public Education Coordinator with Lanark County Interval House, but you have another position there as well, too.
Yes, I work as the victim advocate
Okay.
alongside the OPP and Smiths Falls Police.
And you work closely with the police in our area too. So
Yes, I do.
that's such a great service that you're doing. We have a forum coming up next week. Maybe Erin, you'd like to start talking about it?
Sure. As you know, certainly Smiths Falls and Renfrew County have been impacted recently by issues of femicide. And we wanted to think about how do we respond to that in our community, because our communities are impacted, and, secondary and tertiary trauma and impact is really, really important. So we met with the Smiths Falls Police. And we decided to host a community forum. It's on February the 16th from 11 to 1, and you can register on the Eventbrite site for that. And it's really a forum for us to talk about and make sure that people know what the resources are that are available, how to get in touch with them, how to reduce any kind of barrier or stigma there might be to contacting any of the resources and services, and then to hear the voices of our community in terms of where are people at and what do they need and how can we move the community forward to heal.
All right. And Erin, maybe you can talk a little bit more about who's going to be there, who's going to be presenting.
Sure, I can. We're going to have the Smiths Falls Police presenting. We're going to also have Lanark County Interval House presenting information. We are also going to be talking with Victim Services of Lanark County, as well as the Smiths Falls and Perth District Hospitals, speaking to the sexual assault domestic violence program that they have.
All right. All right. Now, Brianna, you're the public education coordinator there too. You put this together quite quickly too. So in response to what is needed in this area as well.
I think one of the biggest anxieties in our community right now is that people don't know where to go. And when they do find out where to go, who's going to be on the other end of that phone and what information they're going to get. So we want to make sure that everybody knows that there will be somebody to respond to their concerns. It's scary, right? We know that this is happening, and people don't know where to go. So we want to make sure that the resources are known in our community. We have some phenomenal resources, and that we're here to support, and we're all working together as a team to make sure that that information is getting out to our community.
Okay. Now, how would you recommend or advise somebody? Because it must be different for each person. I am a victim. Who do I contact? I am the victim's sister, and I know this is going on. I am the victim's neighbor. I know something's going on. How would you approach that? Who to contact?
I think one of the best ways is to start by calling our crisis line. There's some skilled individuals on the other end of that phone that will be able to support the questions and concerns and have those tough conversations or not, right? Just to listen, starting with that. And then beyond that, there's, again, the programs that will be coming to the forum that day will be able to speak specifically to what they can offer. I know at Lanark County Interval House, through the Victim Advocate Program, working alongside the police, I work with the victims of sexual assault, domestic violence, and human trafficking. And my role is to support them in finding those resources that they need. So they're not doing it alone. They're not making those difficult calls all by themselves. And they're not being stopped at the door. We make sure that we can get those supports for them. So they are out there. Our website has a plethora of information, Facebook. It's all out there. It's a matter of finding it.
So is this forum going to be presented by Zoom?
It is. It is going to be presented by Zoom, and we are going to talk about also some online platforms and knowledge of, for instance, neighbors, friends, and family. Kathy, when you're talking about I'm a victim, I'm the sister of, I'm the friend of, what we know from the Death Review Committee in Ontario is that in most situations where there's a femicide, either a neighbor, a friend, or a family member knew that something was not quite right. And we also want to be able to get to those people to be able to say, you don't need to carry this. You do not shoulder the burden of a femicide. We need to be able to support those folks as well. And we need people to know that there are resources like Neighbors, Friends, and Family, like Moose Hide Campaign, like the See It, Name It, Change It campaign, where you can develop your own tools and look at the tools that exist so that when you're feeling that, you don't have to call our crisis line because you're the victim. You don't have to call Smiths Falls Police because you have an incident to report. You have some information that's making you feel uncomfortable and you need some support around what do I do with it? How do I unpack that? So it is really important when we talk about bystander intervention, when we talk about cut it out campaigns that are happening and trainings that are happening to help estheticians and hairdressers and various other people. We know that conversations are happening. We know that people have that feeling. And we want to also be able to get to those folks. In addition, what we know is when there's a femicide in a community, there's far-reaching impacts, right? Because women are triggered, victims are triggered who are living in isolation and navigating COVID, and they're triggered. And we've had women say, I know what's going to be me next, because they're so afraid, and that reality of femicide triggers them. So we want to make sure that we are addressing the needs of victims who are living with violence. We also want to support the circle of community around people to be able to say, we're not in it, you're not in it alone. You have your neighbors, your friends, and your family, and those folks need to also be able to get access to resources so that they can pass that information on. At the end of the day, no one single person is going to be burdened with the outcomes of that except the perpetrator. And we really want to make sure that people also understand that perpetrator accountability is reality, in a femicide. But when people have information and something happens, they carry that guilt and it impacts their capacity to function. And we want to be able to address that and validate that as well.
Can you, Erin, tell the folks that are listening what a femicide is? Because some of us, we think we know what it is. You can sort of guess what you think it is, but can you tell the folks what femicide is?
So for us, we look at femicide as being the purposeful murder or taking of a life of a woman because she is a woman. So it is targeted, it is gender based, it is typically in a intimate partner relationship. We call it femicide because we want to make sure that people understand the gendered nature of the reality of that particular murder.
Okay. Now, so for something like that to happen, do you get involved with the victims after? Maybe you don't know about this person beforehand. Are you able to help families and members after the fact as well?
Yes, I maybe Brianne would want to address some of that a little bit more specifically, but absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. We through our services here, we have the counseling programs, and we have opportunities to reach our children and youth in the schools to talk to them about the cycle of violence, and that because they're hearing it too, right? They hear the stuff happening in our community, and they're healing from these things as well. So we want to make sure that they know that there's another way and that they don't have to follow that same cycle. We support the kids of the family. We can support, the community, the friends of the family. So again, it's reaching out and knowing where to reach out. So absolutely, we're here.
And victim.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, just wanted to say Victim Services also offers a wide variety of supports to primary victims, secondary victims as well. And tertiary victims, in terms of the community at large, is really about picking a service that you feel will respond to your particular need or your particular concern. So whether that's Lanark County Mental Health, whether that's Lanark County Interval House, there are, as Brianna mentioned, there's a plethora of services, and really it's about finding the courage to make the first call and looking at what services could be provided to you.
And it's a whole different level of education too for the children as well too, because they could be raised in this, they think it's normal, the abuse is normal, and it's not.
We're definitely working on, we are working with our partners in and colleagues in Renfrew County because they also have been impacted recently by a femicide. And we're trying to look at revitalizing the campaign, See It, Name It, Change It. And I don't know if you remember, but that's a campaign that started and came to life as a result of the number of murders we had in rural Eastern Ontario with Wilno and Lanark County, as well as Lennox and Addington. And we really feel like See It, Name It, Change It has curriculum and it has information that's available and that's appropriate for children, for school age kids, all the way through to young adults and then adults. So we really are looking at revitalizing it and making sure that we share it widely and that we start making it a bit more available in our strategies around public education.
Yeah, and I mean, you get so much support. I mean, the recent public mosaics that you've done, there's one in Carleton Place and there's another one, I want to say
Almont?
Almont? It was in Almont. Okay, I wasn't sure it was Almont or Arnprior, but you've got one up there. And Smith Falls is thinking of doing one as well. I've heard that.
So yes, Smith Falls is doing one. It was very interesting because when we were doing the one in Almont, there was already lots of pressure as we were doing the build together in a community. There was lots of pressure from the community saying, "Where are we going to do the next one?" Which it was interesting for us because we just felt so honored to be able to do a second one, and then all of a sudden it's like people are really embracing the idea. And I know Brianna said this before that participating in building a pebble mosaic, you don't have to like have any experience, any particular reason other than I want to participate in something that speaks to gender-based violence. So Smith Falls was chosen in the fall, and we started having conversations with the town of Smith Falls, and just recently met with council, and we are moving forward with Redefine Arts, formerly Red Dress Productions, and they are our artist team and our leads, and we'll use likely a hybrid model of how to connect with our community. So anyone who wants to be involved can be engaged from the very beginning to the very end. So there are forums where you talk about design and intentions and what you want the messages to be in your mosaic. And then we have a public build. And again, it's a bit of a hybrid model. So because of COVID, we have a public build opportunity and people come together and you're actually putting stones in that permanent art installation that will live in the town of Smith Falls. And it will become a living piece. And then it will be unveiled in the town of Smith Falls, and it will live there as a permanent art installation, and it'll be a place where people can gather. People can go as individuals to reflect, to think about the issues of gender-based violence and the realities of our community healing and those we've lost. And certainly timing in terms of the Smith Falls community, it'll be really great, I think, in terms of a healing and a place to gather, to remember and to honor. And so we're excited to get on with that project. It'll be I hope it will be the same great experience as it's been in the past that we've done two other ones.
And I mean, speaking of support too, I have to do a shout out to Boston Pizza across the street from us here at YourTV. They're doing you buy a heart for $2, and they're trying to fill a wall, and all the proceeds from that are going to Lanark County Interval House as well.
We are just so fortunate that these initiatives, that people choose us. And one of the things that's really important when you think about kind of small town or rural is that we don't have the same corporate connections as people who are in larger urban centers. So having a relationship with Starbucks or having a relationship with Boston Pizza and having Boston Pizza choose us, it really solidifies messages in our community. And I think for Boston Pizza, it speaks to their intentions. It speaks to their community mindedness, and it speaks to the fact that they want to be part of a solution. So they're not just a chain of restaurant that wants to provide food and a place for people to gather. They want to be part of solutions and community. And I think it's awesome that Boston Pizza has chosen us, and we're really, really grateful. We have, we have to work on our corporate relationships and how we kind of make something where we don't have a ton of corporate. So I think it's amazing, and I think it sends huge messages to our community.
Well,
it also opens up that conversation for families when they go to Boston Pizza to eat. Like, what does that heart on the wall represent? And you can have those conversations with your kids, and in a safe space. So I think it's fantastic. Like, they're wonderful.
Well, yes, they are. You define the Samir family to a T. That's the owners of Boston Pizza here in Smith Falls. So you define them to a T. That is them for sure. That's for sure. Maybe as we wrap up, we can tell the date and time, how to register again for your forum next week. Maybe Brianne, can you do that?
Sure. So you can find again us. We're on the website is lcih.org, and you'll find the information there, as well as our Facebook page. And it is an Eventbrite link. So registration is mandatory. So, but yeah, that's on the Facebook page, Lanark County Interval House.
Excellent, excellent. Erin, is there anything you'd like to add before we wrap up?
I want to thank everybody in the community for their ongoing support. And I think it's just important for everybody to recognize that we need to support each other in our day-to-day. And the notion of being kind is not a notion, right? It's a reality, and it's a skill that we all have been working so hard with. And COVID continues to exacerbate the issues of violence. And we as a community will continue to work diligently towards finding those solutions and making a safer community.
Good words to end on. Thank you very much, Erin Lee and Brianne Lukasevich from Lanark County Interval House. Thank you for joining us again today.